When I worked in the downtown east side, I used to park my car and walk for 3 blocks to hospice. And I was never fearful on this walk. And I did stay vigilant. I made sure to greet every person that I crossed paths with, that I met on that walk. And there was this gentleman that he lived under a stoop at the cross of two roads, and he was very organized, very tidy. He had a cot and a suitcase and a walker, a sleeping bag and a pillow. And every day when I walked by, I'd kind of smile or wave, or smile and wave. And one day I decided to stop in and introduce myself. I said, "Hi, I'm Josie. I work at hospice just down the road." He said, "Oh, hospice. Oh, I know hospice. Yeah, they do good work there." So I got to know Carl because I'd stop in and we'd have lovely chats every day. I learned that he was 74 years old. He used to be a long-haul truck driver in Ontario for the oil and gas industry. I learned that he had a twin brother, that he had a faith and family. It was really fascinating getting to know Carl. And one day when I'm walking past Carl, he had a situation happening. And I decided rather than stop in right now and embarrass him, I was just going to keep walking. I'll check in on later on in the day. So at lunchtime when I came back, Carl was sitting in the exact same situation that I'd left him at a few hours earlier. So I decided on the way back from my lunch, I'm going to stop in and check and see what I can do for Carl. When I get back, Carl is laying on the ground, and there's a bunch of people standing around him. So I stopped in and I said, "What's happening with Carl?" And Carl says, "Oh, I fell. Can you just help me back onto my cot?" And I said, "Oh, Carl, I'm really sorry. I'm not strong enough to do that. I knew that it would be dead weight." And I said, I can't do that. I'm sorry, Carl, but I can phone the ambulance and they can come and do what's called a lift assist." And Carl's going, no, don't phone the ambulance. Don't phone the ambulance. I don't need the ambulance. I'm not hurt." And I said, "No, it's just a lift assist. The two very healthy paramedics will come and they will pick you up and put you back onto the cot. They can take you to the hospital if you want, but you don't have to go if you don't." And he goes, "Okay, but can you please stay with me and don't let them take me inside?" And I said, "I can do that, Carl." So I stayed, and the paramedics came and they checked him over and tried to get him to go to the hospital. Said, you don't look well, Carl. You should come," but he didn't want to. So that day was kind of the beginning of the end for Carl. Over the next few days, he looked weaker. He was stationary. He wasn't getting up. People were dropping off food and drinks all around his cot. And I was really worried. And one of the nurses from hospice says, "I can come talk to him if you want. Could you please?" So we go down and we have this conversation. She introduces herself. She says what a hospice is, and that we also offer respite care, that he can come and just check in for a few days, a couple of weeks. We'll make you some good meals. We give you some medicine. We can do your laundry. You're free to go anytime you want. And Carl says, "Oh no, I don't need that. I got everything I need right here. My life is good." "Okay." She says, "Well, Carl, I'm just afraid that you don't look well and you've been getting worse, and I would be afraid that when it came time to make decisions about your health situation, that you might not be strong enough to do that, or there might not be someone around to help you with the choices you make. And I wouldn't want you to die out here alone." And Carl says, "Well, if it's my time, it's my time, and there actually isn't anybody that can do anything about that, and I'm not afraid to die." So we go back to hospice, and think it was maybe the next day, we had doctor's rounds, and I was explaining Carl's situation to the doctor. And he says, you know what you can do to help Carl? And I went, what can I do? He says, you can honor his wishes. I just deflated. That's just not what I wanted to hear. And so over the next day or two, Carl declined a lot. I went by him after work, and his legs were over the side of his cot and he was sitting, and then he had just kind of fallen sideways. And he says to me when I walked up, he says, "Hun, can you help me?" And I'm like, yes, Carl, I can. And he goes, "Could you lay my coat over top of me?" Yes, I can do that, Carl. So I pick up his coat and I laid the hood around his head, and I kind of tucked him in, and I bent down and I looked into his face and I said, "Carl, please let me know when I can help you." And he said, "I will, hun. You have a good weekend." And I turned around and I left, and that was the last time that I saw Carl. And why this story and Carl's life means so much to me is that the downtown east side, and really any place that people are gathering, is community. And community is about honoring each person's story, their identity, and just their worth.